Hello book friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a lot of bookish things. One, we're going to be going to Barnes & Noble to pick up my copy of Oathbound so I can complete my physical copy. I already listened to it via audiobook, but I wanted the physical copy to complete my collection. And then also in this vlog, we'll be having my daughter's match day in medical school for her residency. And then also we'll be talking about a book that I read in one sitting, Before You Knew My Name. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then also I want to talk about my reading goals moving forward for 2025. I want to talk about getting through my TBR. Now I constantly add to my TBR, but I don't read books off of it as quickly as I add to it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So let's get going. It has been a minute. What are you guys reading right now? Life has been lifing, so I haven't been able to read as much as I'd like to. On this day, I decided to stop at Barnes & Noble. I just love walking around Barnes & Noble, don't you? My favorite genres are horror, thriller, fantasy, and some sci-fi. The previous book I read via audiobook was Oathbound, but I needed to pick up a physical copy to complete my collection. These books are absolutely beautiful. While I was there, I also love puzzles, so I picked up the Wicked puzzle. And I'll be showing the completion of that puzzle to you guys in future vlogs. Now, I do want to quickly talk about Oathbound. Oathbound was absolutely amazing. And I will say I loved all three books. And Oathbound did not disappoint. So if you guys have not read that, please read it. It was absolutely phenomenal. I believe I gave it 4.5 stars. And the ending was chef's kiss. It makes you want more. I'm not going to tell too much, but yes, go read it if you haven't. So now I have all three of these beauties. They are so pretty. I love these books. They're beautiful. The artwork is amazing. I know you guys have seen these. And then also I wanted to share with you guys the puzzle that I picked up, Wicked. I want to do this puzzle coming up soon. And did you guys like the Wicked movie? My daughter just watched it today and she said she liked it. I watched it. I thought it was really good. There's a lot of heavy topics. And that's why I guess it's now on the BANED list. But it's a very good story. I think that the main character, she did a phenomenal job. And Ariana, she did a phenomenal job as well. But yeah, I want to put this puzzle together and then show you guys how it turns out. And then next, I'm going to show a little footage of this weekend. On Friday, actually, we went to my daughter's match day for her residency program. It was an amazing experience to see the kids, well, they're adults, but to us, they're kids, just seeing them, so proud of them, the joy that was in the room from them. And then, of course, the pride that was coming from family members for them was absolutely phenomenal. It was so touching. And you know, we held it together. I didn't cry. My daughter did cry, as she should. She's worked hard. And then her graduation will be in May. For the official graduation, they have match day before graduation. But then when they graduate, they'll have the medical doctor degrees. So we're very proud of her. After match day, we went to late lunch with my parents and my husband and my daughter, and we had a wonderful lunch. I had catfish and collard greens and occasion rice and beans and macaroni and cheese and cornbread. And I also had a pina colada, but it was absolutely delicious, absolutely delicious. And a very cool establishment. And then finally, I sat down and I read the book Before You Knew My Name. Now, this book was suggested to me by a book talk friend, and it was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I can see why there's mixed reviews on it. I can see why. But for me, I feel like the reason why some people may grapple with this book is because it is very raw. It does open up some deep feelings inside of, I'm sure, all of us. And even though that may turn some people off, it actually pulled me in. The story is based on a young woman named Alice, and she flees to New York City as soon as she turns 18. I think she actually turned 18 on the bus going to New York City. She flees there with only $600 and a stolen camera. And when she gets there, unfortunately, she is murdered. And she is discovered by an Australian woman who also fled to New York for her own reasons. As she's jogging, she finds Alice's body. Now, at this point, no one knows who Alice is, so she is given the alias Jane Doe. Now, at this point, Ruby just has to know more. She is compelled to help find out who killed this young lady. And she's also compelled to find out more about her. Who is she? Where does she come from? Why did she end up on those rocks on that day, murdered? And I feel like that is how all of us should feel when these type of things happen to people. Ruby was a representation of how we all should feel so visceral about a situation like this. We should all feel pulled in and outraged when something like this happens, and not feel like, well, maybe she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. A woman shouldn't be out at that time. A woman shouldn't do this. A woman shouldn't do that. It really pulled back that social issues that a lot of times occur when something like this happens, blaming the victim. And it really highlighted that, why are we blaming the victim? The person that did the heinous act is the one to be blamed. And so she wants to know more. And what's interesting is that Alice is actually telling the story as a spirit. So she is now a ghost, a spirit, and she's telling the story. And she's actually I'm not going to tell too much because I don't want, this is actually in the synopsis. So I'm not telling you nothing that you wouldn't get from the synopsis. But it's an absolutely beautifully written piece of literature that really makes us look at some of the things that are indoctrinated into us about being nice, about being polite, even against our best judgment. We don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so we're taught to be nice. And that a lot of times is not paired well when you encounter a bad man or bad person, because you are teetering on knowing something isn't right, but not wanting to hurt people's feelings, because we're taught that. That's ingrained in a lot of women, a lot of people. And so one of the quotes, I'm going to read you a quote because it very much highlights how indoctrinated we are about politeness and not listening to our gut instinct. But the quote that stood out to me was this: how many times does politeness keep us rooted to the spot? We stand on the brink, making a choice whether to tip over into trust or disgust. And we remember all our training, the lifetime of it, the doctrine of nice, the fear of hurting someone's feelings. Now, yes, that's exactly the quote that really is at the core of this story. It was so well written. Now, you do need to check trigger warnings because this is a heavy story, has a lot of triggering content. So, you know, if you're going to read it off of my recommendation, make sure you check all the trigger warnings. Please, please, please check them because it's a very, very heavy book. I did give it 4 stars and it was wonderful. It really makes you look at some issues. The story was terrible, but it really makes us take a step back at how we view things in society. And we need to figure out how to restructure how we're thinking and not blame the victim. Finally, I want to talk about my future reading goals for 2025. Now, I have a huge TBR and I do read fast. I just haven't been reading lately as much as I want to because of things that have been, going on in my life. But I can say that I am adding more books to my TBR faster than I can get them read. So my goal is to get into my TBR and bring you guys content from my TBR. Now I haven't decided how I want to handle it. If I want to make a TBR jar, if I want to do an app and do like the spin the wheel type of situation. How do you guys do that? Those of you that use TBRs. I know some of you guys don't use TBRs, so that's fine. But those of you that do, what do you do? Do you do a jar? Do you do a spin the wheel? Do you just pick something based on whatever method you use? Share below what method that is. And then also, what are you guys reading and loving right now? I have seen so many awesome books on Book Talk, Bookstagram, BookTube that I just want to read. I think I saw that there's a new Hunger Game book, so I'm thinking about that one. I'm also looking at a fantasy series, The King of Swords or King of, what's his name? The young man that writes the really thick books. All right, Brandon Sanderson, that is his name, Brandon Sanderson. I really want to get into that series. It looks like a lot of fun, and I really love fantasy as well. Now, just drop down below what you're reading right now, and we're going to go on this journey together. So I'll see you guys on the next vlog where I'll be sharing with you what I've read next. So see you next time. Bye.